and welcome to Gazette discussion for 2nd July 2021. My name is Harsh Singh, and in this video we will cover many interesting articles, many conceptual articles through this Gazette. Now, this video is divided in two parts. We will have two segments, two different videos, one on the featured news of the day. The featured news of the day is on drone technology. It is in news because lately in Jammu and Kashmir, we have had terrorist attack which was aided by drone technology. So we will cover various aspects of this technology, whether it is a boon, whether it is an advantage for us, or whether it is a bane, whether it is a disadvantage for us. The second video will contain all the rest of the articles. Now, in this day in history, we have dedicated to the Simla Agreement. This Simla Agreement was between the Indian Prime Minister and the Pakistan President. The main agenda of this was that both the countries should exchange the prisoners of war, right? Indian side and Pakistani side, both. Along with that, both countries would respect each other's integrity, etc. Now, new snapshots. We have covered 3 snapshots for today. The first one is on new metering norms by Ministry of Power. The second one is on the advantages of aluminium battery over the lithium batteries. And the third one is on the first plasmid DNA COVID vaccine, which has been applied by Zydus Cadila. Image of the day is on bioluminescence. After that, we have covered important terms and concepts, India's ranking in Global Cybersecurity Index. And then we have Guindy National Park located in Chennai, gamma ray burst, and AIM-iLEAP. We'll come to know what these important terms are, important for the pre-exam. We have covered 3 important editorials for today. The first one is grassroots movement, which is especially against dowry, which is written by an IS officer. And then we have holistic skilling. And the third one, important again, rule of law versus rule by law, written by the Chief Justice of India. Important article, the third one especially. And then we have an important, beautiful case study of IGugu Trust. Now, this trust is acting and keeping things intact in Africa in its own way. We will study about it. So let us begin this discussion. But before that, 2 important updates. The first update for you is that next week, we will cover many interesting articles like Unified Military Command, impact of COVID on the MSMEs, micro, small and medium industries, and restoring statehood in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, these are very important articles in news, and therefore we will cover featured articles in these 3 topics, right? So wait for them. The second important update for you is that we have started to release an important magazine called as Cosmos. Now, this Cosmos magazine is a weekly magazine for geography and environment. We have released 2 editions of it already, and this Saturday we are going to release the 3rd edition of it, right? We will also update these magazines on our website, on Edukemy's website. However, right now we are releasing it on Edukemy's Telegram channel on Saturday. All right. This day in history is dedicated to the Simla Agreement. 2nd July 1972 was the day on which Indian Prime Minister and Pakistani President, they signed this pact. The important agenda of this pact was to exchange the prisoner of war. Both the countries would supply each other the prisoner of war of 1971 to each other, right? There were other parts of this pact as well. Both the countries assured each other that they will respect each other's territorial integrity, that they will not interfere in each other's internal affairs, and they will have political independence and respect for each other. Now, whenever Pakistan these days attacks India or does something against the country, India highlights the Simla Agreement. India says, you signed the Simla Agreement and you are defaulting against it. Whenever India does something similar, Pakistan highlights. So this is like a diplomatic fight between both the countries by using the term Simla Agreement, and this is why you must know what is Simla Agreement. The first snapshot for today is on India's new net metering norms. Now, these are new norms introduced by Ministry of Power in the sector of solar energy capture, right? So in specific, solar rooftop energy. Now, what is happening is that since India is promoting solar rooftop energy, therefore, a lot of people are installing these solar rooftop panels, right? They can use it for themselves. They can also sell it to the grid and to the person who needs it, right? And therefore metering them, Therefore, knowing how much solar energy was created or transmitted becomes important. Let us discuss few cases in which it is necessary to know how much it was created. Suppose a person has installed this new solar panels on their rooftop, right? Now, if they are using all this as energy in their own home, fine. But if there are 100 units which are being created and they also need 5 extra units from the government, from the distribution company, so total unit use will be 105, and therefore the government needs to know how much was created so that the billing should not be done for all 105, right? Also, another case, in case this person has created this solar panel at their home and they will be using 95 units out of the 100 units that were created. Now, they will also be supplying it to the others, for example, in the grid. And therefore, the government needs to know the total supply and how much they have used so that they may be able to reimburse for the 5 units that they have transmitted in the grid, right? Therefore, this is required to know by the government, and that is why these norms have been put. Okay. These new type of people who are not only producing electricity, they are also consuming it. They are called as prosumers. Prosumers, important technical term, but very important. So they will ask in pre-exam, what are they related to? They are related to Ministry of Power and net metering for rooftop solar installations, right? Now, government has promised that it will be utilized, it will be creating 175 gigawatt of renewable clean energy by 2022. Out of that, 100 gigawatt will be solar, right? And 40 gigawatt will be solar rooftop panels. And that is why this is very important. Government is trying to promote this for the new players in the market, the prosumers, right? So they are in the advantageous situation. However, somebody is in a little disadvantage. Who? It is the distribution companies. Why? Because these distribution companies are the ones which will have to pay the individual people like the prosumers, right? Since there will be competition of who can provide electricity, there will be more competition from prosumers as well, and therefore distribution companies will be under a little threat, right? Now, this is the way government is trying to promote the prosumers here, right? So this is how the new tariff have taken place, right? This is where you must know the concept of net metering and gross metering. So what is net metering? Suppose the person is using the electricity at their home but passing on the rest of electricity to the grid. So this is net metering concept. And suppose if the person is passing on the whole electricity, not using at all, passing on everything that they produce to the power grid, then it is called as gross metering, right? So all the power is generated by rooftop solar system is injected in the grid. So that is gross metering concept. All right. Now, I just discussed why this is important for India. It is important for India because India has committed to develop 40 gigawatt of solar rooftop energy by 2022, right? And this new energy is going to be renewable and clean, and therefore it is very important, right? Now, there are many role players, prosumers, MSMEs, new businesses, all of them will have to collaborate. Earlier, it was only distribution companies and few producers, but now there is more competition in the market. This is what the first article is about. The second snapshot is on aluminium battery, which is taking lead on the lithium batteries in electric vehicles. Right now, here we must know what are the advantages of aluminium battery over the lithium battery, and then we will understand easily what is the need of aluminium battery in India. Right. First of all, we have been importing a lot of components of lithium battery from outside India. So if we have aluminium batteries, it will reduce the import. And even after that, even before that, you should see that aluminium battery, its important ingredient is aluminium, and India has got vast resources of aluminium, and that is why India can utilize that capacity. India can use that bauxite reserve to create the raw material for the battery, that is aluminium, right? Okay. Not only that, the opportunity is in multiple ways. How? First of all, we can use them in electric transport, upcoming technology, renewable energy, now upcoming. So these are important avenues where we can use it. Also, this new avenue will create a lot of employment for the country, right? So new jobs will be there. Then we will have less imports of raw material because India has a lot of resources of aluminium, not of lithium. And also it will cut down pollution, right? So we have multiple advantages in creation and using of this technology, right? Also, this is cheaper This is actually cheaper. It will give longer lasting battery, right? And it is also safer. Why is it safe? Because it is eco-friendly. It does not produce any hazardous material. See, it's written very clearly. It is eco-friendly. It is less toxic. On the other hand, lithium batteries are more toxic. Also, the energy produced is high. Energy density is high. That means it makes the device much lighter, compact, that means small, and more energy is produced. So why will we not use this, right? Now, how is this producing electricity? It is very simple, right? There is cathode and anode. The anode is the aluminium and cathode is the other part which uses an air. Now, this is where we must know how this technology works. Very simple. We have an anode and cathode and an electrolytic solution, a solution in which cathode and anode are placed. Anode is aluminium, which we are trying to create through multiple ways, and cathode is the air breathing cathode, which delivers oxygen from ambient air. So this is the oxygen, right? And the only idea here is to ensure that electricity travels between cathode and anode, right? So breakdown of the oxygen molecule and the transfer of energy, that is all which is required to be done, and electricity will be generated. So this is how it is done. All you need to know as a general studies student is the advantage of aluminium over lithium, and must know some basics about how electricity is transmitted here. All right, so this is the second article. The third snapshot is on a new technology which has been used for creation of COVID vaccines. Earlier, we have been using the traditional technology in which the weakened or inactive virus is put in the person's body and then immunity is created. The other one is the mRNA vaccine, right? So mRNA vaccine and DNA vaccines are very similar in some respects. Let us see how. Here is the technology where a part of the virus, a part, not the virus itself, a part of virus is injected in the body of the person to stimulate a similar response, antibody response from the body, right? So the whole virus is not introduced, only a particular part of it is introduced to simulate that virus was present. Virus is not actually present, but only a part of it could be present, right? So in DNA and the RNA basis, there is a slight difference. For example, DNA is a little more complex substance, and later it reaches the stage where mRNA molecules are produced. And after that, this produces the effect. So we have been using this stage previously, and the new vaccination will be using this stage. The difference between them is that DNA usage is little more safe. It is little more safe than mRNA. It is more stable as well, right? So this is what is being now used, right? The article itself explains very clearly that this is more stable because of the presence of a substance called as thiamine, right? So it is safe to administer, right? Now there are allegations that DNA based COVID vaccines could have permanent change in the body, right? But these are only haywire discussion, and this is not sure. Now this organization, the company Cadila, has applied for the new application of this kind of vaccine in emergency treatment. So we have studied that there is one traditional vaccine system and the modern one. The modern one has got this mRNA technology and DNA technology. Both are in the same supply chain. DNA work is carried out previously, and after that it converts the molecule into having the protein spike, which simulates the effect, right? DNA one will also be able to simulate the effect, just that it is safer to administer, right? This is what the article is about. Image of the day is on bioluminescence, right? There are places in the world where this activity is seen many times, right? Now, especially off the coast of Somalia, this is the Horn of Africa, right? This place, right? This is where this activity is seen, and this is activity is also called as Milky Sea. This activity is called as Milky Sea. And why this light is produced? It is a chemical reaction in the body of certain organisms, right? So this chemical reaction produces this kind of lighting effect, right? Usually it is expressed only in one light. So one kind of organism will usually have only one light kind of effect. And why do they release this light? They release this light whenever they find a prey, or whenever they themselves are prey, when they are predated to save themselves, right? This is, they can use, or they can use it to hunt, to have, to create food for them, right? And there are places when they also illuminate the sea surface, the sea, because they see an increased or decreased level of salinity. This was also observed off the coast of Mumbai itself, right? Because of the effect of global warming, surface temperature and salinity change, they started to illuminate themselves, right? So algae would do that as well. Okay. Important terms and concepts for today. The first one is Global Cybersecurity Index. This index is ranking the countries on the basis of cybersecurity that they provide. And the best part is India has ranked 10th, an improvement of 37 positions. So this is how India has considerably improved. USA has ranked 1, and America and UK along with Saudi Arabia have ranked 2 in this index, right? It is ranked by International Telecommunication Union, and this is what the article is about. Guindy National Park, an important national park, one of the fewest national parks which is located within the city. This one is located in Chennai city, and this is an important place. Why? Because in the heart of this urban area, this park is being utilized to provide various ecosystem services to the people residing in the urban area, right? For example, sequestration of carbon dioxide. Then we have release of oxygen, mitigating climate change, the urban heat island, right? Providing water recharge facilities, water, right? Generation of employment through this. And there's also a beautiful park inside for children. So this is where I would like to remind you of the ecosystem services. We discussed this a couple of days back. Ecosystem provides 4 types of important services: provision, support, regulating, and cultural services, right? So please note down all these. And this is where Guindy National Park is leading the way in Chennai. There are certain other ways in which important activities of the ecosystem services happen. For example, increasing fertility and helping in pollination and decomposing the waste, right? This is happening with the help of organisms which live in this national park. This park was created in the English times when it was a part of the residence of an important officer in Chennai. Okay, gamma ray burst. What is gamma ray burst? Now, gamma ray burst is a phenomena in which gamma ray is transmitted through the stage of a star. A star bursts in the supernova phase. It produces a lot of light suddenly. And this is where the gamma rays are also seen. It is in news because we have seen some unusual type of gamma ray behavior, afterglow in the space, right? Now, this is where I would like to introduce you to the life cycle of a star. Now, this is an important life cycle of a star. Every star goes through this phase. And this is the phase where supernova forms, a particular phase. This is the phase where in the life of star, light, suddenly a lot of light is emitted from the star. Why is it done? Now see, star is like a burning fuel, right? The fuel is burning, and for example, hydrogen, helium, these all particles burn and the fusion reaction happens, and this is how the whole process accelerates, and later the fuel is consumed. In this phase of supernova, what happens is that because these fuel burn, they result in the formation of a higher molecule, so more dense molecule, and therefore slowly when you see, the star will become small and further small. So in this phase of supernova, since the star is becoming small, it is also becoming very dense. It starts to attract a lot of fuel which is on the surface closer by, and when it does that, it suddenly gets a lot of fuel inside. And this is the phase when a lot of fuel is there, and therefore a lot of sudden burning is there. This is where extreme light is given by the star, supernova. This is the stage called as supernova. And therefore, after this, it dies into a neutron star or a black hole. Light emitted is hardly anything, very few, very small amount of light is emitted. So right now, the news is that this gamma ray burst, some unusual behavior has been observed, right? This is what is the news. Next is AIM-iLEAP. What is AIM? AIM stands for Atal Innovation Mission. The mission is to have innovation and entrepreneurship in the country, right? So in this, there are various sectors in entrepreneurship and innovation. For example, technology is there, information technology is there, finance, right? Big data, Internet of Things, etc. So government is trying to innovate various mechanisms in which all stakeholders can come in the same picture and innovate for the country. And this time it has used finance technology. And what will it do through this? Through this, government is trying to initiate newer mechanisms for payment systems, international money transfers, personal finance, consumer banking, insurance, etc. Right now, let me remind you of important Atal Innovation Mission. It has got Atal Tinkering Labs. What are these labs? These are labs created in school areas where the school students can actually participate in innovative projects. They have got models of computers, models of various devices they can play with, tinker with. What is tinkering? Tinker is playing around. They can reverse engineer, open the devices. They have got interconnection of various computers to work on. So it promotes their scientific temperament, right? They can do 3D printing in their own labs, Atal tinkering labs in the schools. So this is what is Atal tinkering lab. Then we have Atal incubators. Incubators are the place where industries are placed, new organizations, industries, or people who are indulging in new technologies, research and activity. So they can incubate themselves, and government will help providing money, technology, other resources to them, right? So incubators are ideally a place where small children are placed for surviving during tough times. Very small neonatal children are placed there. Next, the Atal Innovation Challenge. So there are challenges and grand challenges placed where government provides finances if people win this challenge, right? Certain activities, for example, Atal Challenge was organized for plastic, new solutions for plastic, single-use plastic, etc. Right? Next, editorials of the day. Now we have three very good editorials for today. The first one is about fighting dowry. This IS officer, she has written that dowry is a menace in the country, right? Although it is the message of dowry reception is spread very fast over social media, but people hardly change in their own minds, right? The idea is to ensure that the women do not receive any discrimination. And how can it happen? It can happen by making them an important part of the workforce. If they are a part of the workforce, they will be economically independent and be able to earn. And therefore, the male members will not subjugate them, will not put them down, right? The idea of what they will say, this idea, this lady has said, the lady in the article has said that this idea prohibits a lot of people to bring out the dowry atrocities out in the open, right? The usage of words like manpower. Why only manpower? Why not women power? So gender neutral words should be used. The discrimination should stop right from the time the child is born, right? So one of the important ways this can be done is by institutionalizing marriage registration. It must be made mandatory so that females deserve, they get their due, they get what they deserve, right? Panchayat secretaries, women help groups, self-help groups, they have to be important stakeholders in ensuring that women are not exploited, right? Social legislation is not only social in nature, not only legal in nature. Legislation is not only legal in nature, it is also social in nature. It must be applied in society. There must be a moral aspect of it as well. So this is what the article speaks of. The second article is about holistic skilling, right? Now, this is where we must know the important terms like labor force and workforce, right? Now, workforce and labor force are about the people in the age group of 16 to 64 age, right? This is where the workforce and labor force is calculated. One of them is about how many people are available ready to work. And the second one is only about how many people are employed. They are also a sector of people who are looking for employment, right? So they are the part of this labor and workforce, right? The idea which has been depicted in the article is that the organization should not work in silos. Silos means a place where grain is stored, isolation. It means the organization should not work in isolation. They must work with each other to ensure that funds are adequate, to ensure that training received is educated and is enough, and people are empowered enough, right? The article mentions that a lot of population, young population is there in the country, and they will get added to the workforce. They will need employment, and we need employment in the coming years. The article speaks of hub and spoke model of ITI, where ITI will act as the hub, and then it will transmit skills to various human resources of the country. The third, an important article for today is rule of law versus rule by law. This has been written by Chief Justice of India, and he says that a law has got various components to it. One of the components is to ensure that social control is ensured. Social control is ensured in a society with the help of sovereign. Who is the sovereign? Our country. With the help of the government, social control over the people is ensured. But he also mentions that a law has moral component, social component. It has to have social acceptance also, right? So earlier, before independence, there was rule by law. We were administrated by law. It was not rule of law, right? So earlier, the political repression. That means the Indians were suppressed, subjugated by the British. But now that is not the idea. Now the law, according to him, mentions 4 important aspects. The first important is that the law must be clear and accessible. People must know what is the law. The second, he says, is that law must be equally available to everybody, equal for all the people, right? Females as well. He has mentioned females in specific, right? And then the third, he says that people should participate in refining the laws and creation of laws. How they participate? Through election, through representation, through going to the parliament as members of parliament and state legislature. Then he also says that judiciary is also an important component which ensures that the constitution is upheld. And not only judiciary, the other organs also, the executive and the legislature also. Along with that, he mentions that social media plays an important role. This article is a beautiful article. You can read it by clicking here on the PDF. Case study of the day. Today's case study is about IGugu Trust. IGugu Trust is an important trust which is creating an impact in Africa, in countries like Kenya, in countries like Zambia, Zimbabwe, etc. All the countries in this region, this organization is creating an impact. What is the impact? Let us see. Now, the organization is helping people to understand how to regenerate their degraded landscapes. So how have these lands degraded? Right? Suppose this is an animal and it is grazing on the field. If it grazes excessively on the field, the soil gets degraded, right? It also uproots the soil from below, and therefore excessive degradation of the soil leads to desertification, right? So they are ensuring that they form this IGugu Trust is ensuring that people form groups, right? And they graze the land with the help of animals. These animals graze the land only at a particular tenure, and then they move to another land which is close by, right? So they keep hopping and the land gets time to rejuvenate, right? Also, this word called as bomas. The idea of bomas is to ensure that animals graze in a fenced field. They do not move out of this field, and they can move to another field later on. But this is how regulated grazing can happen, and they can preserve the land right here. So this also helps in empowerment of the women. This also improves the social capital, because through this activity, right, a lot of people will be able to increase the production and productivity in the area. And through this increased production and productivity, they will gain more money, and through more money finances, they will have more social capital as well, right? So some important communities and places which are participating in this are Maasai tribes in Kenya, Samburu in Kenya, and Hwange in Zimbabwe, right? So an important case study about the development of the region through improved techniques of grazing, right? All right. So this was IGugu Trust. Thanks for watching.